The Independent National Electoral Commission has insisted that the continuous voters registration exercise ended yesterday, Sunday, despite calls by some opposition political parties and civil society organizations for an extension over concerns that millions of citizens could be excluded from the 2027 general elections. Now, Dialogue reports that the opposition party and CSOs demanded that the exercise be extended to allow more eligible Nigerians to register. While the commission noted that the exercise also covers voters' transfer requests, correction of personal information, and replacement of loss or damaged permanent voters' card are all included. Now, the closure of the registration exercise brings an end to a nationwide voter enrollment process that had been conducted in phases over the past year. If you recall, the first phase of the CVR commenced in August of 2025 with online pre-registration, where physical registration began on August the 25th. By the end of that phase in December, INEC gave us a record of 2,572,054 completed registration nationwide, comprising of 1,503,832 online registration and 1,068,222 completed through in-person enrollment. Now, the Chief Press Secretary of INEC, to INEC Chairman Dayo Okitola, also said the decision to end the continuous voters registration exercise was in line with the Constitution and legal provision and necessary to pave way for the preparations ahead of the 2027 general election. But the big question is, with the closure of the CVR, what's next as it concerns INEC readiness towards the general elections? And how are all indicators showing a free, fair, and credible polls come next year? Well, a look at these and other issues taking center stage in the country at the moment is what this edition of Dialogue will be all about. I'll be looking at not just INEC, but other critical issues that seem to be playing out in the country at the moment. And hence, we're looking at the state of the nation. And that's what we're looking at today on the lovely edition, starting the week edition of Dialogue on Viewpoint on Atlantic TV. Who better to help us talk about this rather than the Executive Director himself of the Value Rebirth Center, and indeed the state coordinator of the Transition Monitoring Group right here in Delta State. And I'm talking of no other person, but I'll call him Comrade, but he rather call himself Mr. Comrade Edewor Egedegbe. Good day and welcome to the show, sir.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Well, anyway, I want us to kickstart this discussion on the ground of what INEC has done, or is really putting his feet down to do. Like I said, when it comes to the issue of the voter registration exercise, I know you hold it so key in pushing for Nigerians to participate and see how they can elect credible leaders that will usher them into the Eldorado that we've all dreamed of. But INEC is coming out to put their feet on the ground that the voters registration exercise has ended. But according to the Constitution and the Electoral Act 2026 as amended, it specifies 90 days before the election. That will give them enough time to upload the register, let persons observe if the names are correct, who these persons are, and indeed give them enough time to also send this register to the different political parties for them to have a look. Now, do you feel ending it now will definitely de-emphasize some Nigerians from being a part of it, especially with INEC starting this as way back a year ago and having just 2 million so added to the 93 million already eligible voters in the country?
Okay, let me start this way. For me, INEC has not shown what Nigeria expects of them. From successive INEC chairman to date, is always, rounded in flip-flop, in my view.
Okay.
I say so because from 1999 to today, that's some 27 years of a journey. So, if the law stipulates that a minimum of 150 days, 90 days before, you can stop the registration for the purpose of doing cleanup and all of it, why is INEC, under this current chairman, stopping it way 150 days before election? So that tells you clearly that some level of Nigerians would have been disenfranchised. For instance, a Nigerian that will clock 18 by tomorrow is no longer eligible because he didn't have opportunity to register. What of a Nigerian that will clock 18 by August? What of September? All of them are no more, eligible because INEC is saying so. Now, the inept of INEC should not be at the expense of citizens of this country. We've said this over time, that your inability to do a thing should not be at my detriment. And that's what INEC keep doing. That is on the one side. Then on the second side, even working within the time frame that they had, INEC has not planned effectively enough for people in the rural areas in terms of people capturing them. I give you an example. I come from very rural community of the coastal part of Nigeria. INEC will deploy 2 machines to a local government registration center. A local government that have 11 wards, that have 73 communities, that crisscross riverine upland, and you now allot 2 machines to do a process. How many citizens of that local government will you be able to cover with just 2 machines? Don't forget, it takes clear capturing of your biometric to get you registered. So all of this take process. Then bearing in mind the issues of network. At some points, they do not even have fuel to power that generator. So all of these are just there. But every year, every time this process is occasioned, they do not take, take decisive action to address some of these issues that we point out each time. So for me, that's why I said INEC for successive administration have not helped us. They have not lived up to the expectation. Even in spite of the fact that they've been encouraged from civil society, we encourage them in the light of what they do. We encourage them to say, look, we can assist you with so much in terms of information, in terms of data that you cannot capture. We provide them for you pro bono. Take advantage of it and do your programming to capture those gaps. But they don't do this. So it's an absurd for me for disenfranchising Nigerians because of the inability of INEC to, take up those basic responsibility by ensuring that nobody is disenfranchised. But by this action of theirs, insisting that there's no more going back on the deadline of yesterday, it tells me clearly that a chunk of Nigeria, particularly the youth, they've been disenfranchised. However, I need to also make this assertion here. Nigerian citizens also, they have, this notion of always waiting to the time minute. That we need to speak to also. Always waiting for that minute to begin to respond. And that brings about rush. I've also monitored the registration exercise, particularly in Delta State here. There are some of the days you go to the INEC office, you don't even see one single person go there to go and register. And the days are counting. So when it's already getting to the expiration time, then people begin to cry. That's also not good on the side of citizens. So I believe that patriotism is a responsibility for every citizen. And the Constitution is very clear in chapter 2, section 24, how citizens should be able to also assist government institutions in delivering on their mandate. So it's not enough that every time we come blaming, government institutions, citizens themselves have to take a chunk of the blame by taking responsibility. I can tell you here in the studio that I had to, in my leadership school where I run, I had to take time to also publicize this to the students. And many of them, about 30-something of those students said they've not even have opportunity to capture. So I gave them opportunity, create opportunity for them to make sure I fed them to those places and they get captured. So citizens should also see how they can support the system to survive.
Okay, now, well said. Now, I want us to go to what you said now, and let's look at how citizens have participated thus far. Now, if you look at the 2.9 million voters that have already been captured in the new voters registration exercise, Kano State seems to be leading the pack with about 232,000, followed by Lagos with about 140,000, and Edo came a distant third at 139,000, while Delta is coming at a distant fourth with 130,000 registered voters. Now, let's understand. Let's look at the engagement of INEC with bodies like yours, CSOs or civil organization group, or not only that, but how well, because just like what you said, they hardly went to the hinterlands. the riverine areas. But how much of a sensitization was being carried out to indeed bring more Deltans into the capture of those in the already INEC registration portal? So let's understand, how was the awareness? Because many persons will say they hardly heard, and they're only just hearing. We hardly had advertorial that were advertising that people should go and update their voters registration SSI or new ones during the fall. So let's look at the participation on my two questions is, was INEC living up to board as a concerned sensitization of Deltans? And were Deltans also in the know and ready to add to the pool of those that will be willing to cast their vote come next year?
Okay, first, on the side of INEC's, preparedness in advertising, sensitizing Deltans, that's a no-no. Now, I'll tell you this, Claire, and I've also had the opportunity to reach out to INEC at the state level.
Okay.
Like 3 months ago, I visited the state, INEC office headquarters in Asaba.
Okay.
And, prior to 2023, I organized several symposiums and, seminars.
Which I'm duly
of
aware
course.
of. Yeah.
And bringing stakeholders together in INEC, not one, not twice. We even had to go across, some of the senatorial district to ensure that we sensitize Deltans well ahead of election. Yeah. No wonder that 2023 election was, seamless, so to say, like compared to other elections in Delta State. Yeah. Now, we did that painstakingly from the civil society background. But INEC themselves, I do ask this question, don't you budget for publicity? Don't you budget for sensitization? So if you those budget line, what happens to them at the end of the day? INEC has, gotten a lot of support in terms of funding from even 2023 till date. So what is happening to those budget line items? Now, up to today, the only meeting I've had that INEC has had at the state level is this meeting with the security agents. I think once so far. Okay. And this is like 6 months to election. Civil society have not been engaged. Our data is there. I coordinate transition monitoring group in Delta State. Yeah. I run, a non-governmental organization that does a lot of civic engagement and sensitization. I have not been reached by INEC with regards to, okay, we are looking at this because I galvanize the civil society space prior to 2023 general election. So our data should be there. By now, they should have consciously reached out to us and look, we need to sensitize our people. You need to join hands with us. But that is not happening. So for me, on their own part, they just keeping deaf ears. Maybe they believe that they want to do it their old way. But for me, I fear for a number of reasons for our processes in this country. We run around the circle each time. We do the things the way we used to do them. When the world evolves, nation evolves, system evolves, but some of our system fails to evolve. And that's a major challenge for our well-being as a nation. Now, coming about citizens. Citizens, like I've lashed on them earlier, they have their own flaws. Not always willing. They will stand to criticize government. When you have the opportunity of voting people of credible character, you sit aloof and you allow some charlatans, emerge, then you begin to lament for another 4 years. So we started conscientizing Nigerians across board that, look, your civic right is your right that is inalienable. Nobody tampers with it. And you must do everything to stand on your right. Standing on your right means that doing those things that you need to do as a citizen. Doing those things that you need to do as a patriotic citizen at that. But when you sleep on your right, now the law does not help the indolent. That's what the lawyers will tell you. And that's what the law says. The indolent is not one that sleep over his right. But how do you stand on your right? By doing those things that is expected of you, and you are able to push home your point every time. If we have, okay, Delta is in a population of over 5 million persons. Yeah. Now check the voters registration. What is our voting strength today in Delta? Not more than 2 million or thereabout. So what happened to over the 3 million points?
With the 130 now added.
So it's still in the neighborhood of 2 million plus. Yeah. But what now happened to over 2 million, over 3 million plus Delta? What are they doing? Are you telling me they are all below the age of 18? The answer is no. So citizens have a lot to do. They have a lot to do. I've always said that lamentation and complaining does not change things. It is the step that you take after discovering the gaps that occasion systems The positive steps you take, that's what brings you to a point of Eldorado.
I'll plead with you to hold on. Now, still talking about the steps being taken by Deltans. Now, Rallo poll it's an online poll. Recently made a look into why Deltans seems to be having that apathy in wanting to get into the pool of voters registration exercise. And one of the reasons, or one of the things they pulled through, was that the issue of, will my vote count? Did it count in 2023? And hence that apathy of not wanting to be a part of this process itself. So is that not enough reason why Deltans and most Nigerians were like, why would I go and waste my time when at the end of the day my vote will not count? Who they feel, because that's the mindset a whole lot of Nigerians have, who they feel needs to win it has already taken it, whether we vote or we do not vote.
Okay, so
mindset.
Mindset is a major issue. And do you know that the political gladiators, they take advantage of this docility, which has occasioned our day-to-day mindset.
You call it docility or reality?
No, it's docility. Docility. They are docile over those things that they should be up and doing about. That's why it's docility. Docility talks about when you have a I don't care attitude, a carefree attitude.
But why would they care when their vote doesn't count?
They make their vote count. You know, power is not given, power is taken. That is why they must make their vote count deliberately. For example, politicians know. You know, I work with them a lot because of my civic engagement with them. Now, they fear the people more. But, you know, today, the Nigerian political landscape, the political gladiators have weaponized poverty. So, you watch now, in the next 2-3 months, you will see politicians, you know, paying surprise visits to stakeholders. Surprise visits. Attending birthday parties, attending marriage ceremony, attending naming ceremony of children. That's what politicians, they've understood, you know, the culture of the people. And they are also mainstreaming. They are also mainstreaming it into their own day-to-day calculations. You know, politics is an act of scheming and maneuvering, you know. That's the act itself. So they've already known that, yes, because our people are gullible, let's starve them now. Then prior to election, we can throw some crumbs at them and then we're able to buy them over. That has been the pattern over the years. Now, this is why I hold citizens, you know, liable. That you can't continue to do things the same way and expect a different outcome. Now, if we stand to say, look, this time around we are coming out, let even the 2-point-something million Deltans now who are voted, who are captured by INEC now as eligible voters on election day, let $1.5 billion comes out on an average, comes out to vote, and let them stay at that polling unit and ensure that whoever they voted for is announced and nothing changes. Whether IREP Porter or not, the result that translated from the unit is emphasized at the end of the day. Don't forget, we are in the social media era today, where you know, people can have easy access to documentation. So let them stand and say, hey, this time around, this is the person we have voted for, and nothing must change it. Once we are able to do that, that we put jitters in the mind of political gladiators. They will begin to take citizens more seriously than ever. But the apathy is, oh, will my vote count? You have always been saying that, and that's making you not to vote. Then some charlatans are always finding their way into the office. And they go there and manage you, whether you like it or not. I tell them, you know, as a privileged pastor, I tell them in the church that civic responsibility is a right given you by virtue of being a citizen of a nation. Now, when you abdicate it because you believe that you are a Christian, as some people say, politics is a dirty game. I say politics is not a dirty game. It is some of the operators of politics that are dirty, not the politics itself. Politics is a process of, you know, people determining who govern their part time. It's a game. That's democracy. But when righteous people stay aloof and allow unrighteous people to go and begin to handle the affairs of state, what do you expect? So I've always charged Christians and non-Christians alike to take responsibility in diving into politics for the purpose of sanitizing it. Once a place is dirty, now you know it's dirty, you are white. Now, go there with your white and radiate that white so that dirty will give way. Night and darkness does not meet. You cannot sit as an armchair critic. You are not taking steps. You know, over the years, my children are of voting age. Every year, we go to my community to vote. Oh, yes, it's been a practice for many years running. And I intend to do that as part of my civic responsibility. It is my responsibility to determine who governs me with my vote, with my son's vote, with my wife's vote, with my daughter's vote. If every family does that, I tell you, those unscrupulous characters out there will not find their way there.
Okay, now let's find our way to another major one, because we're still talking about INEC and how really prepared they are for also the elections, which is more of a major one. Now, just last month, the commissioner for INEC on the issue of voter education and also publicity, Mohammed Haruna, came out to say that government have not given them up to 50% of the budget they require for the general election. If you still recall, they required 879.27 billion naira for the election, and they feel half or less of half of that have already reached them. And they feel that it might threaten the general election come next year. Now, so let's look at how prepared they are and the issue of the release of fund. Now, do you see this as an excuse before time that might indeed jeopardize the elections, or do you hold government accountable on account of not releasing what INEC feel they need as a concern funding to actualize a free, fair, and credible come next year?
Okay, my response is this. I've always said that there is no excuse that is good enough that can justify failure.
Most certainly.
Yes. So INEC need to come out. INEC needs to come out. Now, INEC need to get close to the National Assembly that approve their budget. That, hey, this is XYZ. We've not gotten so much.
Because we have 6 months to the election.
Oh, yes. And this is going to affect our delivery. And to that extent, the National Assembly that have oversight on the executive, we need to do their own job. INEC should not be lamenting in quiet in their own inside and not, engaging in the system. They are a creation of government. The National Assembly is a creation of government that you put check on the executive. And even, of course, the judiciary. So when you have an issue, a problem shared is a problem half solved. They cannot be lamenting in their closets and think that things will happen. No. Civil society have done so much for institutions in this country, and they don't even give us a hoot. Why we do this selflessly to enthrone a nation that is egalitarian, they see some of us as busybodies. But for us, this is just a way of serving our nation in our contributing our quota. So INEC should be clear. Tell Nigerians, shout on top of the roof that, hey, if we fail, hold executive accountable. Now, but in Nigeria, for fear of being sacked because of the stomach infrastructure, people do not talk. But I've told them that, look, as a public office holder, you owe us a duty of explanation.
Yeah.
You owe us a duty of accountability. Yeah. Don't tell me that you took one oath of allegiance that now, shortchange you from speaking the truth to power. No. You can walk away and life will not end. Some of us will not, we didn't have opportunity of public engagement. We've not had it. But are we not still living? Yeah. We are living. But we must, let us always think of what we can do for our country. Not only what our country will do for us. We must change that psyche. So I speak to INEC this morning that, look, if they have any issue bothering them, they should speak up. They should speak up. They should give us those statistics. We will also take it up as non-governmental organizations, CSOs. Well, of course, we've pushed a lot of pushback we get, but it didn't deter us from also pushing on, because Nigeria must work. Yeah. It must work. And the devil cannot stop it, no matter what.
Now, still talking about stopping it, I want us to look, like we said, it's just barely 6 months to the general elections. And already, many are already predicting an election that might be characterized with a whole lot of crisis. And the reason I'm saying this is, let's look at the Osun elections that is to happen in maybe 10 or 11 or 12 days from now. Just yesterday, we were informed that hoodlums went to hijack the process or went to steal voters' registration cards from an INEC office in Osun State. And there's every tendency that it might snowball into crisis with the recent arrests and counter allegations of violence being perpetrated by the APC and the Accord Party. And INEC seems to be in the middle of the mix, especially with that large number of voter registration cards being stolen just yesterday. So let's look at this and what it will look like for the elections come 2027. Are you in every way skeptical, or do you have that reservation that the elections might also be full of a whole or emerge a lot of crises? Remembering that INEC just only recently in Delta State talked about the issue of security and ensuring that it should be rancor-free. So let's look at INEC, the government. How prepared are they for us to have a free and fair and credible election that is rancor-free?
Okay, on that, INEC preparedness is always shoddy. It's always shoddy.
Okay.
And, you know, at the end of the day, they'll come and blame it on one agency or the other, or the people. But you, for crying out loud, you know these are some of the gaps we have seen over the years. So what are you doing to address them?
Okay.
Is it just to come and pass the ball?
Okay.
So I am saying that INEC must take responsibility for failure or otherwise of whatever goes wrong.
Okay.
Why am I saying so? You know, in the Electoral Act, INEC as the umbrella body.
Yeah. Umpire.
The umpire.
Electoral umpire.
The independent, you know, electoral commission that ought to be independent has never been independent. They have never been independent in the real sense of it. Even though they think that they want to pride themselves as independent National Electoral Commission, but that's just for the optics. What goes underhand is much more than what we see in the optics. So for me, I am saying that when you take up a responsibility, you owe the people a duty to discharge that responsibility for the betterment of the people that you represent. But not just for what you get alone. Now, here it is. From all indications, the political gladiators have mastered this art. By always, especially government in power, they will always want to, you know, spoon-feed the INEC people per time. And because of that spoon-feeding background, they will not be able to speak when they should speak. For instance, on election day, at the polling units, when election is going on, if there are issues of thuggery, you mentioned that now, if there are issues of thuggery, hooliganism that is happening, the Electoral Act is skewed in a way that the INEC commissioner will have to call on the security agencies before they can act.
Okay.
That is what it is. Now, the security agency, though seeing it, they are not empowered by the act to so act until an INEC officer directs them to act. Now, an INEC officer that is already, you know, compromised behind, and he sees thugs of a political party, of, you know, a particular political party, maybe particularly a government in power, that has a close working relationship with the security agencies, doing something that will contravene the law, and he refuses to give the police or the civil defense or whoever officer that is represented there the authority to act. If the man acts, he acts, you know, on his own. Are you getting it now?
Contravention of the law.
Yeah, contravening the law. So these are some of the unscrupulous, you know, behaviors that are already there. And INEC is always waiting to explore those loopholes given, which is why you see that a lot of these repeated happenings is always happening. And, you know, at the point of amending the Electoral Act, when you speak on this, they will make sure by the time they go in there, all of those beautiful points that were made from the civil society angle, they will not find their way to the final document. And that's why it's been so. So I am saying that INEC have to clear themselves. If they want to serve this country, let them serve this country.
But do you see a rancor-free elections come next year? Especially with the pointers we're having in Oshobo.
No, I am a believer of, you know, an egalitarian society where things work. So I wouldn't want to say that even though I have my reservation, I don't want those reservations, those negative reservations, to outweigh the possibility.
Well, you don't want to be a prophet of doom.
No, not at all. That has not been my style, and I won't go there. However, which is why I'm situating it squarely on the hands of INEC, that there is no excuse they can come and give us at the end of the day. Let them not forget, you know, the world is digitalized today.
Yeah.
Anything they are doing, they think they are not covered. They are open to the public. So they must do those things that makes them cerebral as independent electoral commission staffs or ad hoc staff, as the case may be.
Okay, well, anyway, I'll need to thank you so much. No other person but Comrade Edewor Egedegbe. Well, anyway, in case you're joining us, it's indeed dialogue today. We're looking at the state of the nation. What better way for us to start it rather than starting it with the electoral umpire and how really prepared they are, especially with what seems to be coming out with them putting an end to the continuous voters registration exercise that ended 12 a.m. yesterday. Well, anyway, this morning, rather, you call it. And they've put an end to it. You are not already on that register. Well, I just need to advise you, don't bother till the next exercise commence, maybe 3 or 4 years' time. But irrespective of that, how really prepared they are, that all has taken center stage as we look at the major issues that seem to confront us as a people, especially right here on Dialogue. Now, looking at other issues, because we said we're looking at the state of the nation, just recently, the Social Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, has filed a lawsuit against the NNPCL, indicating that they should account for no other but 211, staggering 211 trillion naira. Now, the suit, which indeed was instituted just recently, we have the suit number FHC/ABJ/CX/1427/2026, filed last week at the Federal High Court in Abuja. SERAP is seeking an order of mandamus directing and compelling the NNPCL to account for 211 trillion naira and disclose all documents and information relating to transactions recorded in its 2023 audited financial statement. SERAP is also asking the court to direct and compel NNPCL to provide a detailed explanation and indeed to how those documents relating to 107.6 trillion naira was used, especially as it concerns them putting it out in the public. Well, that is what SERAP is requesting for. And you do know that just only recently, the red chambers are also compelling no order but the former DG, or rather Group Managing Director of NNPCL, Malam Kyari, to account for 210 trillion that has been unaccounted for, according to the red chambers, and SERAP is taking the lead in requesting for that to be done. Now, well, anyway, the NNPCL is not immune to a whole lot of scandals that has met it in over the years, and this seems to be one of the largest we've come to see. Like I said, the red chambers has directed no order, but the former Group Managing Director of the NNPCL to come in person. They even requested for a bench warrant for him to make himself present to give full detail of how those monies were spent. Now, 210 trillion is a large sum of money. When if you take your mind back to how much we've borrowed thus far on account of helping out to deal with some major projects in the country, we are now in a tune of almost 14 to 15 trillion naira in debt, and yet 210 trillion is unaccounted for. Now, I want your reaction as it concerns this deep-rooted allegation. I'll call it allegation, though. It has not been fully
proven.
Yeah, proven. And what that means for a country that is indebted, deeply indebted.
Okay, for me, Nigeria is a joke when it comes to corruption.
Whoa.
A big joke. A very huge one. Let me use several adjectives to qualify the joke Nigeria is in when it comes to corruption. It is like we are trying to institutionalize corruption in Nigeria in recent times. Oh, yes. So that means you need to be corrupt to be a Nigerian. That's what is tending towards. But God forbid that at some point, there's going to be a dramatic turn of event. Oh, yes. Which is why I'm holding Nigerian citizens, culpable for why we are drifting in this way we are drifting. Oh, yes. 211 trillion. So where are the institutions that are saddled with the responsibility of checking and balancing the affairs of NNPC? All this while, that a whole whooping 211 trillion is in limbo, that we can't even trace it. Now you tell me that Oh, and other mandamus has been issued that the man should come on account. The man that is in control of allegedly 211 trillion, if he brings even 10 trillion out of it, he will have compromised the entire space. What else do you expect? What else do you expect? I've told you that they are almost trying to institutionalize corruption in Nigeria. So with these gladiators that we have at the top echelon down to the bottom, I don't think they mean good for us. They don't mean well for Nigeria.
Yeah, that's a strong
with due respect to them.
That's a strong statement.
Yes, they don't mean well for us. I'm saying so. It is my view, it's my opinion, and I have right to it. Because, and I can trace it. You don't tell me that you are aspiring to be somewhere, having known what it takes to be there, having known what it takes, or what you owe the people, having got there. You get there and you're telling me why XYZ is not this, why this is not that, justifying failure, that it was not in your tenure, it was by the former. So what's that? Didn't you know that those things were there before you aspire to go? Which is why I'm saying we are becoming a huge joke when it comes to corruption. I fear that any better outcome will come out of it because of the humongous amount that is involved. Okay, the other day, the former minister of, Attorney General of the Federation, Malami, I think about 58 properties.
48.
No, out of the 58, 48
have been forfeited.
were forfeited through the courts. No, leaving 10 for him. So the question I ask is, also, which money does this man have? Which money does this man have to acquire all of this property within a period of 8 years?
Well, he said some of them were gifts.
Gifts. Gift to compromise him for one thing or the other. If not, how many such gifts has he gotten before he became Attorney General of Nigeria? For those years. So Nigerians are not asking the question that you should ask. That's why I tell them, where the dead body is different, where people are crying is another. It's a concern. Let us face it squarely. Now, Mr. President Tinubu has been telling Nigerians that hold your governors accountable. And all the subsidy money, that I'm sharing it with them. So I'm not owing them any time. Hold them accountable. How many citizens of states can call their governor today? The only person they can call is Tinubu. Their governors, they can't call them because their governors have made themselves emperor in those states. When you call them, they come after you. And of course, they sponsor their hallelujah aids to begin to, try to run you down. And we think that should scare us. Some of us are not scared, in any case.
But I'm a bit scared because we need to go on a break now. And when we come back, we'll continue our discussion as we look at the state of the nation and what needs to be done to indeed change the narrative, especially with a huge number of Nigerians really not satisfied with what seems to be happening in the country at the moment. Let's go on a break.
Behind closed doors, too many suffer in silence. Too many lives are scarred by violence in the very place that should bring peace, the home. Domestic violence is not love. It is pain. It breaks trust, destroys lives and families, and steals futures. Domestic violence is not a private matter. It's a violation of dignity, and it must end. Because hitting a woman does not make you a man. But correcting her in love and staying in peace with her is God's plan. Together, we can raise our voices, protect the vulnerable, and rebuild lives. Say no to silence. Say no to fear. Say no to domestic violence. Powered by Atlantic Media and TV.
Atlantic TV.
Don't miss out on exciting news, events, and more. Stay connected by following us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram at Atlantic Media and TV.
Well, I need to welcome you back. And anyway, we needed that short break to do some commercials, but back with it. And today on Dialogue, like we said, we're still looking at the state of the nation, especially as it concerns not just the elections that is fast approaching, but other majors that seem to be taking a center stage on the country, or rather in the country at the moment. Especially before we went on the break, we talked about the recent suit being instituted by the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project on account of the 211 trillion naira that is unaccounted for by the NNPCL, and that suit being instituted just last week at the Federal High Court in Abuja. Well, anyway, we're looking at that as we look at the spate of corruption that seems to be enmeshed in our society at the moment and what needs to be done to change the narrative. As much as we're looking for credible leaders to elect, the issue of corruption also needs to be dealt with. Hence, we're having this discussion. And whoever, rather, that somebody that is pushing for a new value rebate, I'm talking of no other person, but the executive director of value rebate in the state, I'm talking of no other person but Comrade Edewor Egedegbe. Well, anyway, before we went on the break, we looked extensively at that very suit being instituted by the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project on account of the 210 trillion. But that's not the only scandal financially that seems to be in the news. The PFIPC is also gaining momentum with what we learned that the Accountant General of the Federation will be drilled in some 1 hour, 30 minutes from now at the Green Chambers. He's been invited for them to know. And funny enough, with the information we are getting, it looks as if many are also linking this to the former President Muhammadu Buhari, as much as they are also saying the knowledge of the PFIPC has been in the known for the last 6 months prior now, and yet nobody took action about it. So I want you to look at that very scandal of no other but the DG Adeyemi himself. And how did we get a fake agency on the budget?
Well, I'm not surprised that all of those revelations are coming. I believe strongly there are more that will come. There are more that will come. Because, which is why I said, if Nigeria is not becoming a joke that is taking too far, from when this matter came up, what has Mr. President done?
He has instructed the ICPC to go for it.
So the people that were fingered in the whole quagmire, and they are romancing themselves in the office.
But I feel you mean the SGF.
SGF, the chief of staff, and everyone that is mentioned.
The chief of staff.
And in fairness to the alleged fake DG, as it were now, he said he's going to speak. And the system is doing everything to make him not speak.
Is that what you feel?
Oh, I feel so. I feel so strongly. That's why they are trying to intimidate him. They are trying to humiliate him so that he loses his sense of reasoning. So at that point, he may not be able to give those cogent things. And also forget, there's also an allegation out there that the main man, the link man between the chief of staff to the president and the Adeyemi is dead. Oh yes, the news had it that, you know, that fire broke out in a hotel he was, and he died. And the hotel was raised down. Without any much ado report about it. So there's so much that they are trying to cover, in my view. But I pray that Adeyemi should be able to stand his ground, to say those things, and let Nigerians know for sure. But with due respect to Mr. President, his own style of fighting corruption leaves much to be desired by me.
So do you mean, are you indirectly saying the chief of staff would have stepped down? Is that what you are saying?
Not just him alone. Everybody, every ministry, every agency, even up to EFCC. You didn't see when Adeyemi was, meeting, ambassadors,
gave
EFCC award and all of those, with 300 staffs allotted to him, with an office space in the federal secretariat, and somebody is telling me that, oh, we are not aware, it then means that there are many such agencies that are out there that we are yet to discover. How will we even discover them if the people that should discover them are the one behind them? Oh yes. How do you discover them? If, of course, now, when the beetle that is eating the yam is inside the yam cannot be peaceful. The leaves will never be green. They will always be yellow because they're eating it without outsiders saying it. That's what is playing out. That's why I tell you that Nigeria is almost becoming a joke taken too far. But thank God for 2027 general election. Nigerians should speak. They should speak in their anger to say no to anybody that they suspect that is not going to give them a better 4 years at any level. Be it president, be it governor, be it senate, be it House of Assembly, be it House of Reps. We should vote for individuals. My own campaign, my own advocacy is vote for characters that can take us there.
Not party.
Not a party, ruling party or no ruling party. It is quality people that can represent this nation that we are looking for. Not people who go there and massage. You just say, okay, leaders say, who's leaders say? Say what for who? No, now, we should stop some of this joke that we are taking too far.
Okay, now, talking about the joke, talking about the issue of corruption, how can we really eliminate this? Yeah, you talked about us taking that civic responsibility of electing credible leaders, but irrespective of electing credible leaders, some will say whether you even elect an angel into office, once the system is corrupt, there's every tendency that he or she might be compromised. So let's look at changing the narrative as it concerns our system and how it has helped, encouraged, embedded, and institutionalized corruption in the country at the moment.
So this is what I mean. Now, there are qualities of a leader, or call it a representative, because that has placed you in a leadership position.
Yeah.
There are three must have, and I've always said this in every public opportunity I have.
Yeah.
The three must have: a representative, a leader, a head of agency, a head of institution must have the head. The head, you use the head to think. You think through things. Now, it must also have the heart. The heart to empathize with the people. But with due respect to the people we have there, majority of them do not have the head. They do not even have the heart. Now, they must have, among all, that if you miss one or two, you shouldn't miss the guts. The gut is that courage to fire when it matters most. But the kind of people we have as our leaders today, with due respect to them, they do not have the guts. Some do not have head. Some have head, they don't have the heart. How to empathize. Nigerians are going through pain. I came in this morning. I bought fuel at 1,300. Now, when the price of fuel dropped, it didn't last for more than 2 weeks. How much did it drop to? 1,200.
Yeah, just 100 naira.
Just 100 naira. And it was not even sustained for 1 month in any case. Yeah. It's gone back to 1,300. And in going back to 1,300, it didn't take 10 seconds for all the operators to adjust. But when it was to go down, it took weeks. Some barely just even adopted the 1,200 and the thing has gone up again. And the next moment, they are up there. Now, when we have a functional system, people should be fired. You are telling me, how do we stop it? Stopping it is so easy. When a leader that is, that has a gut is up there, and you fire everybody that compromise the system, the next people waiting in line will have a choice to either repent or be booted out. But in Nigeria, okay, look at what we just spoke about now. The chief of staff to the president, the SGF, the EFCC, all of those people that have one dealing or the other with the same person, everybody is calling Adeyemi as the bad person. So what are all the people that romance with him? The giver of bribe and the taker of bribe, they are both corrupt. They are both to face, of course, they are criminal acts. That's what he prescribed. Both of them should go in. So either, overtly or otherwise, you knew about this thing, you should be culpable. Either for contributory negligence or otherwise, you must be fingered. But here, some people are scapegoats, some are sacred cows, Some are just, they are petted over there because nothing should happen to those things. Because if anything happens to them, then of course everything will be exposed. So a whole lot has happened to us, which is why my major push here is for Nigerian citizens. Let us get more, circumcised. Circumcised in this sense, I mean, let's go for knowledge that can put us on our topmost top place. Let us not wallow in ignorance. Some of these things, they are come by. But people, of course, we do training, free leadership training for Nigerians. Yearly, month by month. We try to conscientize citizens to know what they should know so that their behavior will be enhanced. But you see them, they are adamant. They don't even want to take advantage of
those.
Oh, yes. That's why I use the word docility. When you come to lament and lament and lament, so who will your lamenting help? It's you that will suffer it. But when you are knowledgeable, things that should befit you, things that will place you on the ground, they will not, because you know. So you are able to escape them because you know. So that you are ignorant is not an excuse for you. So Nigeria should get wiser by holding every public officer accountable, no matter who he is. I told you earlier that politicians are the most scared people when it comes to election. Many of them, their BP will be rising now because of what's happening. That's why every strong opposition, they try to tame them. They try to divide them. They try to sponsor a lot of campaign of calumny to make sure they don't get so strong. When the people are united, for a purpose, there's nothing you can hold from them. We saw it in the Torah of Babel, in the Bible. So the power of unity or purpose is a major weapon that we can use to oust some of these unscrupulous characters that we have in leadership.
Well, anyway, I feel that we need to not only leave them or get them removed, but we need to leave the show at the moment because time is not a friend. I will be up for more than an hour or so. And I need to really thank no other person about comrade Edewor Egedegbe for doing this with us. I undermine your busy schedule. And I know you need to be somewhere at the moment, but it's always appreciative for you to come and put your own as it concerns nation building and also your push for a true value rebate. We truly appreciate your time and we'll say thank you so much for honoring our invitation.